Good evening and thank you so much for joining us on The Last Word tonight. Delighted you're with us on KTN News. My name is Sophia Wanuna. What a great evening it is to have a show about the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Of course, the last couple of days, a number of stories touching on their mandate, beginning with the voter registration exercise, month-long exercise that came to a close yesterday, and today the update, President Uhuru Kenyatta announcing that promise to ensure the government gives more money to the IEBC to extend the period of registration to allow more Kenyans that opportunity to be able to register to participate in next year's general election. So Commissioners Mohamed Alawi as well as Albert Chebwire are with me in studio here at our City Center studios to have this conversation. Of course, Alawi at my extreme right and Bwire next to me. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us tonight. Let's begin, because there are a number of issues, of course, to canvass tonight, but let's begin with that voter registration exercise with the President's announcement today. Commissioner Alawi, I'll start with you. How much money is this we're hearing from President Uhuru Kenyatta talking about giving to the IEBC? Do we know?
We had actually planned to use 2 billion for the first phase and another 2 billion for the second phase. So we're looking at a total of about 4 billion for the entire exercise. But we're only given $500 million for the first phase, which I will say that we have the first phase has come to a close yesterday. And we had 100% utilization of the fund because we were able to get up to slightly over 1 million votes. Right. Whereas we were targeting 4 million, which would have gone, we needed 4 times the money that we had requested. So it appeared we got what we call a pound for a pound. So and we are very grateful for the Kenyans who turned out in the number that they did. And this, the over 1 million mark goes on the new registration. What we had not anticipated that came on our way were the massive transfer as well, which were roughly about 300,000 people. So we ended up serving about 1.4 to 1.5. The fee, we are still working on the figures in the last 30 days. So we are looking forward for the support from the government, which we've been asking for, to give us enough funds in good time so that we can be able to effect our election operation plans. All right.
So let's just clarify. Do you know how much exactly the government is promising?
We actually, it is just coming out from the media. We know what we've asked for. Yeah, we know what we've asked for.
Right.
I do not know how much they're promising to give us, but we're very hopeful that that money will come and come in good time.
So when it comes, you'll have an extension. And does it depend? So say, for example, if you get 500 million, does that mean 1 more month? If you get $1 billion, does that mean 2 months? How does it work?
You see, we have an election operation plan.
Right.
That we are going to have the second phase next year, same time. We are going to have a continuous voter registration going on even after we have closed we have 2 phases. One we call mass voter registration, MVR, which means that the commission goes out. We do an outreach to the people. Whereas after the 1 month, we go back to our offices, 290 offices across the country. And there what we do, the public comes to us. Instead of us going to the public, now is the time for the public to come to us. But if we are to come across, if we're given good money in good time, we'll be able to sit down and draw a plan on how best we can have campaigns similar to the one that we had, so that we can move our people. But we have our plans. We had asked for money for these plans, which we were given, not adequate. But if we come across the funds as a pledge, we will be able to go to a drawing board and plan for another phase in between. Yeah.
So at this point, you're saying unclear how much you'll get and also unclear how much the extension would be.
Yes.
All right, Bwire. And let's take it back. So we have this mass registration exercise concluding yesterday. But since 2013, up to the time this exercise began about a month ago, how many voters had been registered? Because going into 2013, we had slightly over 14 million registered voters. So how many had IEBC registered between then and this last exercise?
Thank you very much. Between the last election and the time we were starting the mass voter registration, we had registered 156,000 under continuous voter registration as given in the Constitution. And I think that was a commendable number, bearing in mind the fact that the allocations we were receiving were not adequate. For example, we were receiving about 18 million per year for continuous voter registration. If you look at 290 constituencies, this comes to something like 5,000 perhaps per month. And 5,000 per month cannot fuel a Land Rover for field election staff to do proper continuous voter registration. So 156 plus the 1.1 that
but that's paltry, paltry number, because when you compare to the target, because your target from 2013 to the next year's elections was 8 million extra voters. So 156,000, that's a small number. Are you saying that the numbers you're able to rope in are fully dependent on how much money you get? Is that the only consideration?
It's not the only consideration, but you have to look at it from the outreach angle. The reason why you find people not turning up to register at times is an argument that the kids or our IBC officers are too far. So they don't want to walk too far to come and register. So that is one of the arguments. And that is the reason why, after we realized continuous voter registration wasn't bringing in a lot of money, we said we'll go closer to the prospective voters. And that is why we went to the wards. So at ward level, you've seen what we've done in only 1 month, about 1.1 million. And with the good news that the president has given the nation today, if we are given something like 1 billion to 1.5 billion, we could double the number of registration kits to about 10,000. And that will be even closer to the potential voters. That should drop in much more voters moving forward.
All right, so what does this money go to, Commissioner Alawi? Because kits, it's the same kits. Do we buy kits every other time there's a registration exercise, or what? When you're talking about these amounts of money that you need, what exactly does it go into?
Number one is labor wage. If we are to employ about 6,000 workers at a rate of 1,000 shillings a day, so you can see it in every day, we're talking about 6 million shillings just as a wage. And the 6,000 do not reach where our intended points, and our intended points will be registration center. So if we were to roll out 15,000 kits to the country, that means in every day we're supposed to employ at least 15,000 workers, and we have to pay them 15 million shillings a day. We also have to look at issues like sensitization, a media campaign.
Because we did not see that in the lead up to this exercise as much as we saw the last time.
Precisely because we don't have the funds. In fact, we had to be very innovative when we used to go to the local areas and say we want to have barazas with the elders, with the balozi of Nyumba Kumi, with the chiefs. So we bring everybody at one point and we preach the gospel to them. But we do not have the campaign. The media sensitization, we do not have the local administration. All this need facilitation and mobilization. You realize in the previous one, where we did it only for 30 days, we were able to collect 14.3 million voters. It was also a 30-day, but because it was intense, the campaign was loud, and we could hear it from every radio in the country, and from every baraza, and we could mobilize people. And all this require funds. But the kits, we have them. We need to service the kits, we need to transport the kits.
So you're saying the money then you need it for paying the manpower that you need for this particular exercise, and number two, to awareness.
Awareness.
For the campaign, for people to be able to know about the exercise.
Yes.
And turn up.
And turn up, yes.
All right. But at this particular point, we have just, slightly over 1 year to the next general election. Do you think that 8 million more voters going into 2017 is a bit ambitious and you might want to revise it downwards?
You know, like our number is not targeted because it's achievable or it's too ambitious. We are targeting the Kenyans who have been issued ID cards. So our pool, the pool that we are addressing, we say how many Kenyans have been issued with ID cards, and we want to bring at least 80% of those Kenyans into the register.
Okay.
And when we talk of the figure of 8 million, we are also targeting those who have not yet attained the age of 18 by this year. But we project that by next year there will be turning 18. And this exercise will go on until 10th of May 2017.
All right.
We believe that with a lot of campaign, we should be able to bring that number in.
Okay.
Yes.
So the most significant part is voter education. I think from the president's announcement, if we're able to give an allocation for voter education, I think we'll be able to get to every corner of this country getting the message that those who've not registered need to come out and register as voters. The campaign we had that ended yesterday, we did not have much.
How many voters did you manage to register?
As at 13th, we had about 1.1 million. So we are still getting the numbers the last 2 days. And the last 2 days, incidentally, were very interesting. Because yesterday, we went to check on what was happening. And our clerks, who are very idle for 29 days, yesterday they were
very
extremely busy. By 12, they had registered 60, and the queue was still long.
Yeah.
So we were expecting they were going to register close to 100, 120. So you can see 120 the last 2 days, when actually from day 1 to day 28, they've been registering about 8 and reading newspapers most of the time. Actually, the kids have been idle most of the time.
So let's talk about some of the issues arising from this particular exercise. And we had some politicians talk about movement of voters, and that there were individuals who are getting people to move and register in different areas. IBC came out at that particular time to say there is no illegality in somebody moving where it is they can cast their votes come next year. Talk to us about that, because IBC did at the time mention there was quite a significant rise in terms of the numbers.
Number one is that in the previous laws in this country, there used to be, voter registration used to be tied to residence, a requirement that you must be a resident of a certain area, or you must have some property in an area. But the new law, which came with the new constitution, did away with that requirement of residence. So a Kenyan is free to be registered anywhere he wishes to be registered. And what also we found very interesting, that many Kenyans this time round decided to change either where the places they are voting, or even the constituencies and the counties. And it is within their right to do that. And that's why we saw a very big number of about 250 to 300,000 people. Other than the new registered voters of 1.1, we're also seeing that about 300,000 Kenyans have migrated. Either their polling centers to a nearer place, or they have moved to different counties. And this one can be explained. There are with many dynamics, with the devolution which has happened in this country. There's a lot of interest in the county level. The people who have moved out of their area where they're living and all that. But also it shows that people took interest of the registration exercise, whereas very few people seems to have appreciated what the registration exercise entail. But it soon came to fruition that it entails getting on the record people who are not registered, the youth, and people who want to move.
There are those who wondered, when will Kenya get to a point where questions of where I'm going to be or where I'm from is not really a matter, because we're now, in terms of technology, roped in so that wherever I am, I can vote because my details, IBC has them. When can we get to that point? What is holding us back? I
think there is no place in the world, I'll say, where you can vote anywhere you want to be without prior planning and prior arrangement. Even in the most developed democracy, in, let's say, Canada or England, if you want to shift, you must give the commission or the electoral EMBs bodies a good notice that I will not be able to vote at this point, but I want to vote at that point. So it is not going to be like the way you draw money from Barclays anywhere around. It will, because there's a lot of issues of credibility. There's the issue of confidence. There's the issue of secrecy that are attached to the electoral process and planning. In fact, if you are a keen follower of electoral practice in the world, today there was a problem. Yesterday there was a problem in Orange County in Florida, whereby they ran out of ballot papers. And this is the most developed of democracies in the world. So there will always be a prior planning.
There needs to be. There
must be, so that you must notify the EMB, say, though I'm a resident of Mombasa, in the next 1 month, I want to vote
to vote Garissa or elsewhere.
Or elsewhere. And that's why you see that we've started very early. This is the first time this country where voter registration exercise has started at least 18 months